If you registered for government contracting and then nothing happened, you're not behind and you're not broken. You're just sitting at the part that makes you eligible, but not the part that makes you chosen. And that matters because time passes when you're running a service company. Your week fills up with clients, your team, payroll, and a lot of problems. You're just putting out fires. So if you spend months thinking you're in government contracting, but you're not actually moving toward anything or a win, that's expensive. It costs time, it costs focus, and it costs your confidence. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 steps that take you from registered to awarded. And I'm going to show you the step most people skip. Now, if you build the next step properly, government contracts stop feeling random and they start getting predictable. I'm 𝗙𝗙𝗘𝗘, and I've helped businesses win over $5.7 billion in contracts, and I help established service companies add government contracts as an additional predictable revenue stream so they can grow a more stable and valuable company. And I also want to make sure that you leave with one move that you can do this week that creates real progress, even if you don't have a pipeline right now. So here's what we need to talk about. The registration that you did isn't the win. The registration is the starting line. It's kind of like you're signing up for a 5K. You get the sticker, you put it on your back, and all you have to do is show up and run. So you have to do those steps in order to qualify for a ranking. A lot of people get registered, and then they do the next thing that they can see, which is chasing bids on a portal. And they think the game is about finding opportunities. And that's not the game. The real game is becoming the safest and clearest choice for a specific buyer. So here's the full map. There are 5 steps. The first step, you've already done this, more likely. You've got registered. The second one, you need to get positioned. Third, you become visible to the right buyers. Fourth, you start getting invited into real opportunities. And last, 5th, you get awarded. And that's what we're aiming for. So most people stall because they go from registered straight to chasing bids, and then they skip positioning and visibility, wondering why they're not seeing anything move. And that's why it feels like effort with no reward. Now, I'm going to walk you through each step individually, and I want you to listen for which step you're actually missing. Step 1 is registered. Now, this is the admin step. You're in the system, you're allowed to compete, and that matters, but it doesn't create trust by itself. It doesn't create demand by itself. It doesn't create a reason for someone to pick you. If you're registered and waiting, you're not failing. You're just parked at step 1. So step 2 is positioning. And this is the step that changes everything. You see, positioning means a buyer can understand what you do in one sentence, and they can tell themselves, this vendor feels safe. That's what they're thinking in the back of their mind. You see, most businesses don't sound safe. They sound generic. And they say things like, we do construction, or we do IT, or we do consulting, and that might be true, but it isn't a reason to choose you. It just makes you blend in with everyone else saying the same thing. Government buyers don't buy a list of services, they buy a clean outcome with low risk. And that's really important when you're building long-term relationships. So positioning is when you choose a lane and you say it clearly. So let me say it in a simple way. If your message sounds like it could fit 50 other companies, then a buyer doesn't have a reason to pick you. And that includes saying that you're safe and you have great customer service and you get great results for people. If you don't have specific details to any of those things, then it's pretty generic and nobody will see you as someone that stands out. And this is where people waste time because they chase bids first and then they try to prove themselves inside of a proposal. That's backwards. It actually should start with the relationship, then the positioning and the proposal. So step number 3 is visibility. Now, being visible, after you get clear, the right people have to see you. It's like you can't ignore something that's been polished and present in front of your face, but you can ignore something that's been blurry and kind of confusing to see. This is where people get confused because they think visibility means posting content or running ads. That can help in some cases, but that's not what I mean here. What I mean is that visibility in government contracting means the buyer and the buyer circle can find you and understand you before a bid is due. A lot of work is shaped early. Needs are talked about early. Plans are made early. And yes, bids do get posted, but by the time the bid is posted, the buyer often already has a picture in their mind of what good looks like. So when you show up for the first time at the deadline, you're asking them to trust you fast. And that's really difficult on a multi-million-dollar contract. Visibility makes it easier because you're not new anymore. You're known, you're remembered, and you're familiar. So let me pause here and say this really clear. This isn't about bidding more. This is about repositioning your business. If you keep chasing bids while you're still generic, you're going to keep feeling stuck. Now, let's move on to step 4, invited. This is the invitation you want because it feels like magic. This is when someone says, send me your capability statement. This is when someone replies. And this is when someone tells you, we've got something coming up that you should look at. This is when a prime says, we need a partner just like you. Now, this step isn't luck. This step is what happens when you're positioned and visible long enough that trust starts forming and evolving and building. And when you're invited, your chances go up because you aren't a stranger anymore. You aren't one more name in a pile. Step number 5 is awarded. And this is the outcome that everybody wants, and it comes last for a reason. Awards are the results. And when the earlier steps are built, winning becomes more normal. It stops feeling random. It stops feeling like a lottery ticket. When the earlier steps are missing, you can work very hard and still feel like you're getting nowhere. I've seen established service companies do this without building a massive team or flipping their whole business upside down. They stop trying to chase everything and they start picking a lane that matches what they already do really well. They get clear in their message. They show up where the right buyers are, and then they start getting invited into the conversation that actually fits them. See, the win doesn't come from trying harder. The win comes from being easier to choose from. See, that shift is why this can become predictable. So registration makes you eligible. Positioning makes you clear and safe. Visibility makes you known early. Invited is where trust shows up. And lastly, awarded is the result that we're all wanting more of. Now, I want to give you the simplest move that you can do this week. Now, this is your positioning page for government buyers. Should take about 30 minutes or less, just depending on how much of this information you already have built out for your business. First thing you're going to do is write the problem that you solve in plain words, not the solution, the problem. Specifically, why does your business matter at all? What problem is your business solving? Not just necessarily what services you offer, that's easy, but why does the service actually matter? Second, you're going to write down who you solve it for right now. Even if your buyers are all private sector, it doesn't matter. If you have public and private sector, write them down. But really think about the buyer types, like what industries they're in, and specifically who is the most in demand and the most committed client in their industry, and start to look at the pattern in terms of how that can translate into the public sector. Third thing you're going to do is write what you deliver well, what services that you delivered and you've gotten great praise from clients about. Private sector proof counts here too, so make sure that you incorporate that as well. The fourth thing that you're going to do, and the last thing you're going to do on this page, is write why you're a safe choice. And this matters more than you think, because safety means fewer delays, fewer mistakes, and clean follow through. And that's just magic in the ears of the government buyer. Starting out with 3, not 20, just 3 for now, so that you can start building momentum. And then eventually you'll be able to bid any agency that exists because you get so clear and you've built so much momentum. And you choose one visibility move for this week, one email, one event, one intro, even one step, just something to keep moving the needle towards the thing that you're trying to accomplish. This is how you stop waiting in the system and you start bidding movement without adding chaos. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to register and then spend the next 6 months downloading bids that don't fit you. That's how good businesses burn out and decide government contracting doesn't work. Because it does. It does work. It just works best when you build it like a system. If you've been registered for a while and nothing's happening, you don't need to panic. You need to build the missing steps. For most established service companies, the missing step is positioning. And then the next missing step is visibility. When those two are built, invitations happen more often and awards stop feeling random. If you want help building this the right way, check out the guide below. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to choose the right agency without guessing. Because most owners pick the wrong targets and waste a year before they ever get traction. I'll see you in the next one.